And we're live.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Time and Place, the Gospel Conversation Show, where we discuss faith on the fringes and do our best to bring God's Word to God's world. I'm Solomon, and this is Julian.
Yo.
And today we're going to be talking about the Metaverse. What is the Metaverse? Well, actually, what the heck is going on in the world today, though?
Ooh, well, I don't know, because
the Metaverse is really it.
When I'm online, it's one thing, and when I'm in person, it's another thing. So all the news that I've been seeing tells me that the COVID's over, right?
COVID is over.
Everyone's had it. It's less lethal now. Everybody who's going to get vaccinated is vaccinated. We're done. But everywhere I go, it feels like we're going backwards. People want masks again.
So real life is going backwards?
Yeah, real life is going backwards, but all the information coming out is telling us to move forward already.
I thought it would be the opposite. I thought online is the bad place.
That's what I would think. But no, all the information coming out online is saying, like, just get over it now. We're good to go.
The online is the upside down.
That's the real world.
Who are you saying? I thought that's crazy because a lot of stuff online is coming from everywhere else. Like if you're going to the San Antonio, Texas, it looks like the pandemic's over. But if you go online, everything is coming from everywhere else.
But then the CDC is saying like,
oh, they're like backtracking.
Or how you said, I said they were backtracking. You said they're just saying what we already knew, which is true.
They're catching up.
Yes,
but to the real world.
Yes.
And so I don't see the real world as like still in COVID.
No, I see more people in masks now than I did before. Yeah, at Target especially.
Oh,
Half price books.
Yeah,
put that back on us.
Yeah,
put that evil on us again.
Yeah, I was like Grandpa Simpson just walked right back up. Turn around.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
I could not believe it.
Yeah, that sucks. It's. We've been saying, a lot of people have been saying this for a long time, and I've been saying everybody's gonna get COVID.
Right.
I always expected to get. People were at the very beginning of this were talking about like, oh, well, let it pass.
Right.
Wait till it's over. And I very quickly understood this is not going to be over. This is just going to be a new thing that's always out there in some version.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be weaker, hopefully. And if we can, put it off. I wasn't able to, but if we can put it off till it gets weaker and then everybody just gets it like a cold, then we'll be okay. And I think that's what's happening now. And someone said the pandemic's not over when everyone's vaccinated. The pandemic's over when everyone has gotten COVID. And I think that's what we're very quickly coming to.
Yeah,
because everyone I know is vaccinated is getting it.
Right.
Like the good people. Like
the ones who did everything.
Don't go anywhere. I get tested. I do this, and they got COVID. And it's like, yeah, and it's funny they're like truly shocked.
Yeah,
I'm shocked that they're shocked. I'm shocked that they're shocked that they thought they would never get it, but I think that's the narrative they're having to change. They're trying to they're having to change that that story because it was only bad people get COVID.
Right.
People who don't get vaxxed, people who go to church, people who
you didn't wear your mask, you didn't keep your distance,
friends,
right?
People who have loving, intimate relationships, bad people, but good people like us who do everything at home and don't take our kids to school, we'll never get it and we'll be safe. And if you only get COVID because you're bad and you broke the rules or whatever, and it's very quickly becoming, no, all the goodies are getting it too.
Right.
And so, I think it'll be really, really over when Fauci gets it. And he will. He will.
He for sure will.
So many people.
Do you think they'll say it though? Are they gonna come out and announce that the Messiah has COVID?
As much as he is in front of cameras and around other people,
that's true.
And around reporters, and around congressmen, senators,
dude,
and all these other people, they're gonna ask him.
Do you remember when Newsom went missing not too long ago? And everybody nobody could find him, and everybody was speculating that he had an adverse reaction to the vaccine, and that's why they were keeping him low. They were like, we don't want anybody to know. I imagine that's going to happen with Fauci. He's just going to disappear for a couple of weeks, and they're going to act like everything's normal.
Well, that'll be the key. That's how we'll know.
Right.
If it's like, oh,
if we don't see him on TV for a couple of weeks.
Biden's going to get it too. It might take Biden out.
Someone's going to take
those
Biden.
Stairs almost at Biden.
He's the only person I've seen fall up his flight of stairs.
Twice. Kept falling up the stairs. Pelosi, they're all 100 years old.
Yeah.
A cold might take them out.
Well, that's what's crazy too in hindsight to see they were the ones not wearing masks, not social distancing.
Every time Joe Biden talks to somebody, he takes out his
Right,
mask.
he pulls it down.
Every time he gets close to somebody, talks, he takes it out, and then he'll put it back on to walk across the field back to the helicopter.
Right, which makes me think either they knew.
My favorite video is that GIF of him pulling his mask down to cough into his hand.
Oh man,
he's gonna definitely get it, and that's gonna be a big issue, and that's when it's over. That's what the change of the story. It's like, well, it's gonna be okay. We're all gonna get it,
because he's gonna get it.
It's gonna, it's bypassing the vaccine. It's a breakout infection, whatever. It's like, yeah, that's what everybody's the same.
Well, they really got to stop calling it a breakthrough case, because breakthrough implies that the vaccine stops it, and that's just not the case. Like they've said once from the beginning, if you're vaccinated, you can still catch it and spread it.
Yeah. So
it's not a breakthrough case; it's just a case.
Right. Yeah, it's not. It's like there's a giant hole. It's where the fence ends.
Right.
And then the dog just runs around it. He didn't break through your fence.
Just walked. You invited him in.
He found the end of the fence and went around.
Oh man, but I don't know. It's getting crazy to watch. Everybody trying to figure out what's going on anymore, and just I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's good though, because I mean, that's the only thing that was going to happen, is that the narrative has to be changed and has to be shifted, and then it's really over. And then it's once everybody's gotten it and gets some antibodies, and then I mean, we'll probably keep getting boosted in the vaccines and stuff, but you're not gonna. It's gonna keep breaking through. Whatever, we're not going to make them fast enough as they're mutate. If this thing is mutated.
Well, my wife was telling me that she saw a story that they're going to have an Omicron vaccine by May. Like, we're going to be past it by May.
We'll be on
by this. We'll be in the Lambda, whatever we're at by then.
The Omega COVID. That's what it's going to be. That's just allergies, isn't it?
Yeah. By that point, you get a headache for half a day.
Omega COVID.
Your tooth hurts a little bit, and you're good to go.
Oh, okay.
It's a really deceptive name. Actually, switch it around
twice. Omega. Yeah, I know. Well, I got the Alpha.
Oh, you had the OG.
Yeah. Well, have you heard of Deltacron?
No.
Yeah, they're saying I think it's fake or something. It's like COVID's not fake. I'm not saying that. Not a hoax.
YouTube, don't.
No, they're saying that it was like some kind of cross between.
Like a mixed.
Yeah, like a hybrid thing.
Huh.
And they're like Deltacron, and then I saw some stuff that was saying it was fake, but that's not true. No.
Well, because they were overlapping. They were saying they were happening at the same. Like Delta was going out as Omicron was coming in. My favorite was. My wife was at Target and she heard somebody coming out talking about it on the phone, and they were like, "No, I swear I don't have the Omnicorn." Like, oh man!
But I have Omicron.
don't have Omnicorn.
Omnicorn.
I got Omicron.
I didn't pick it up. It was like asking about the grocery list. No, I forgot Omnicorn.
It's going to be interesting to see where the weeks. What I've heard and what I've at church, we were talking about how it's got to be for the elections coming up. Because it's looking bad for everybody who's advocated lockdowns or whatever, for everybody to still be getting it, and this is their policy, the hill they were going to die on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's unpopular. Like, a lot of people are just tired of it.
Yeah.
They just want to get back to normal, and then people are going to get it and be like, "Oh, this is what we like shut down the world
right?
for."
Yes.
The Omicron, not the main one, but like the newest weaker
right.
one.
They're going to feel bad for a day, and why did I lose my job over this?
They're like, "Well, I've got antibodies." It's like, yeah, I know. Like, that's what
people have been saying.
Trying to say. Like, yeah. Oh well, COVID. It's just always. Going to be around.
So the world didn't end. Like we thought it would.
This is like the fourth end of the world
in our lifetime.
Yeah.
not even in history.
Yeah, Y2K shook that.
Well, it's funny. You shook that.
That's the first end of the world. Y2K?
I think AIDS was, but we were too young to remember that.
No, I don't remember AIDS.
But that was like the first. Like, everyone's gonna die. That was the original. Fauci was on that one too.
You vouched that
Connected. Start using that as an adjective.
Vouch this up.
Vouched it. Yeah, Y2K, nothing happened. And bird flu, swine flu, Zika.
After a few of those, it was just like, well, that no one was ever scared.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I
not
mean, was
really.
the avian, like all those. I mean, it was like that one Ebola case or whatever. That
Yeah,
was like,
that one was kind of freaky because they
well, it
were
was like one
flying them
guy.
in.
But it was like one guy.
Yeah,
But then it's like, okay, I wasn't freaked out by that. Were you?
I was freaked out because they were flying him into town.
Yeah.
That was a freaky. Like, why are you bringing him here?
It's always that thing of like, well, this is happening out in the world.
Right.
I'm not in the world.
Yes.
I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
Right. Exactly.
Like, this is.
But then they fly
things
me
don't happen
here
in San Antonio, Texas. I live in New York and like Los Angeles and California, but Texas, I mean, it's all by the time it gets here, that's kind of
it's already over.
That's how I think a lot of people thought of it. And I don't know, man. What if we did treat COVID like the swine flu or like all those things? Like, say Trump wasn't president,
right?
And there was no reason to
politicize this,
to politicize this thing. Man, a lot of people would have died, right?
Yeah.
So if
Trump,
that's
true.
If Trump wasn't president and everyone wasn't doing everything,
I don't know what a lot of people die from the flu who are older.
Well, because the first story was go to Chinatown.
Yes, right. That was the original.
Because Trump was like, close the borders.
Right. So they were like, get out.
Like, he's
you're racist.
Yeah, and if they kept that going, if Trump leaned in on the like Kung Flu story of like China, they created this in a lab, they're trying to kill us. Like, if he just went crazy like that, and the counter was way like, no, find a Chinese person and hug him, and like. Or like find someone who's coughing and hug. You're fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. It was like flip flopped. It's kind of the opposite. Then a lot of people would have died.
I mean, okay. So would they, or would we have gotten here faster to Omicron status?
Here faster, but I think a lot of people would have died.
Yeah, that's true.
It would have just burned through.
Yeah, it would have been quick. It would have been like China. Yeah, in China, you had people dropping in the streets, and the next week they're all in the water park, like elbow to elbow on the floaties. Nobody cares anymore.
They did. It wouldn't be like China. Hey, can you go to the door? We're in the new and improved, if you can see, Time and Place Podcast Studios, aka my office, in my new house that we bought. So, yeah. But yeah, the kids are sleeping right now, so can't get
waking them up with
No, we're good. But yeah, I think it would have just burned through real fast, and a lot of people would have died. So in a way, we can thank Trump for saving
lives,
so many people by being so hated
that whenever he's
so unlikable, and then he took the stance of shrugging off COVID,
right?
And then everybody took the other stance, and now
I like when he got it and he recovered. He was like, I don't know, maybe I'm immune.
I guess I'm basically
he's the best at everything, recovering from COVID.
What if Biden dies of COVID? Would that be like the cap off of like everything? That'd be because it's over. Fauci's gonna get it, and then Biden gets it and dies.
Man,
that'd be insane. That'd be like the cap off of the
COVID era
story. That was like this. Yeah,
that's how you end the chapter in the history book before you go on to the next.
Or like he like goes insane, and like a cop leans on his neck and he dies. Come full circle.
That's
a black cop leans on Biden's neck and died.
There was this video where it was like a future historian talking about the Beatles. It was a skit, parody skit, but it was that thing where you have bits of information and not the whole thing. So in his year 5000, the Beatles were Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney, Scottie Pippen, and Mike Tyson. Those were the Beatles. Because they're putting together fragments of history, trying to. That's how the story is going to get twisted. Yeah, the year 5000 is going to be
alternate timeline.
Derek Chauvin had his knee on Biden's neck.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, who knows how this is? It's just because they're going to find another thing to freak out about.
Yeah, always. I mean, they have to because the ratings are down and no one cares. That's the problem.
Yeah,
you got to keep it's yellow journalism. You got to keep people watching.
Dude, I heard Hillary might run again.
Yes, I saw that today.
Trump is going to take another.
But neither one's going to win. That's what I don't understand.
Dude, a grudge match.
That is going to be
Trump Hillary.
That's going to be ratings.
The UFC,
but who's actually going to win?
Trump.
You think Trump's going to win?
I think Trump. If Trump ran against Hillary, if it could get down to that,
that's true.
If it became Hillary and Trump again, I think he wins again.
Dude, anyone could beat Hillary.
I think all this like craziness with just with the woke riots and with COVID stuff, everyone, I think even more people are tired of Democrats right now
Yeah,
than
that's
before.
true.
They've done nothing but like just.
Well, I was watching Tim Pool show, and he was talking about how they did a poll, and they aggregated all the polls
Yeah.
that if the election was today, Trump would beat Biden.
Yeah.
So
yeah, people are just the economy. I mean, everything is just crap. And
gas.
So, yeah, and so I think even more so, people are just like anybody but the Democrats,
and especially Hillary Clinton, the most unlikable
She's so
of
unlikable.
all Democrats.
She's so unlikable. Everyone hates her. And that's the biggest thing. But that'd be crazy. I don't know who else. I mean, who else could be like Pete Buttigieg?
Oh,
They take like 2 months off
for
for
the kid he didn't have.
Yeah, he and his partner adopted.
That's when they're both sitting in the hospital bed. I'm like, which one of you push that out? Why are you guys in the bed?
I think we're on a hospital bed.
It's for the photo op. It
But
was
what's
like
the story in that picture?
they have a kid, Solomon. That's because when you because when you get a kid, you go to the hospital. That's what you do. They're just a normal family like everybody else.
Yeah.
It's like Ocasio-Cortez crying on an empty fence. It's just a photo op.
She got COVID?
No, I don't think she's had COVID. No, she does have COVID. That's right, because she was partying in Florida. She was in Miami.
She went to Florida.
after trashing DeSantis.
She went from a safe state to a free state. That's what's coming, dude. The safe states and the free states, they're going to be divided up.
We're already there. I mean, Florida, it's Florida right now. That's like prime free state.
Yeah.
That's going to be the capital of new. I don't know what they're going to call it.
I think it's just good. We're all going to still be America, I think. But like
we just don't
like,
talk.
Just the free states and the safe states or something.
It's going to be like cliques in high school.
Like the free states of America and the safe states of America. That'd be the United States anymore.
No. Well, we haven't been for a while.
Yeah,
like, let's be real.
United.
Since Obama. I think Obama was the split.
The split.
Yeah.
I think it was Obama only because we got cell phones, we got smartphones, and,
right? Yeah,
and social media.
2008. That was when
and that was when like the iPhone came out like 07. He was like in 08, and then that's when like all the social media stuff took off.
And you get it on
Twitter
your phone.
Came out when Twitter came out about that time, right?
2008, 2009. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like right. Prime.
That's the worst. I think
like
Twitter's the worst
boiling pot of like everything.
And you can, like you said, you can say stuff in an instant as soon as you think it. There's no time to get over anything anymore.
That's the smartphone problem.
Yeah.
It's not the social media problem. It's the instant, like I can post right now. It's not posting's really bad because we did that before.
Right.
With like a lot of other stuff, but never from our phone in the moment.
You had to go home.
You had to go home. You had to get through track. You had to, cool down.
Sign on AOL.
Yeah. You had to wait 10 minutes for it to boot up. And then you're like, what was that, man? I don't know. I wasn't mad. Forget it,
You ever call in movie phone when you wanted to know what was playing?
No,
you never call. Dude, I would call movie. I would call it sometimes just to listen to the trailers on the phone. I was bored.
That show reminds me of Kramer.
What do you have? Movie phone number?
So if you want to see this movie, press 1. It's like, if you want to see this movie, press 2. And then he's like, beep. He's like, why don't you just tell me the name of the movie you want to watch?
Oh man, I thought it was funny when the pandemic started. You were reading City of God, which is also about the end of the world at a different time when the world didn't end.
No, not when it started.
Was it halfway? No, it was late. That's right. It was post recovery.
No. So
did you start before?
Yeah.
You've been reading that book for 8 years.
So this was the first book on my list, which was a mistake because it's over 1,000 pages long.
Hold up that brick so I can see it.
Yeah, this is the Penguin Classic edition. This is the best edition I could find. I didn't know that there was this. I read Confessions, and that's not this long. And I heard just people talking about it, and like, it's such a great work. It's like staple of Christian literature and stuff. And I was like, all right, I'll read it. And so I put it as my first book on my book list for 2021. And so I started reading it in January, and yeah, it's just a massive. It's a tome, and I was reading it, and then got COVID in February, got hospitalized, and then that threw off everything because I couldn't read in the hospital. I couldn't do anything, and so then I got a new job and started that in March, and then I just read some other books, and I didn't pick this up again, and and then I was like, well, and then it got, it passed through the spring, and I was like, well, now my list is like thrown off. And then I started reading this again. I actually did start reading this again once I did kind of recover and get back on my feet. And I read like 700 pages, and then I just had to stop. I was like, this is too. I gotta read something else. Like, this is just too long. And so I read some other books and everything, and then what I started doing, because it kind of lends itself really well to reading in chunks, because it's broken up into it's broken up 2 parts in like 20 like books each. Like, and they're about not 20. It's not 20 books, but it's I can't remember how many, but it's like about 50 to 100 page little books inside.
Okay.
And then those are split up. So what I would do is, like, I would read a book and then come read 100 or so pages of it. Read one book of this, and then it kind of read it in between different books I was reading and stuff. And then finally finished it December. So it took me all year to read. But if I absolutely recommend reading it, but in chunks. I think that's the better way to go about it, because it is a lot. It's pretty dense. It's very old. He's talking about like flat Earth and stuff. I mean, this is like 410.
That's very relevant.
This is 410 AD.
Imagine reading that in 410 when you got the sheep skins. You got to.
Was that? Did they have books? They
had codexes. Yeah.
Well, they didn't have like a book though, right?
No, I mean, you had. Yeah, just like bound parchment. It was like the best thing you had, and you had to be super rich to read that.
Just like a stack of.
Yeah.
Oh my, no way! Like, it's had to be like a scroll or something.
Imagine being the dude who had to write that, because you didn't have the press yet.
Copying it.
Somebody's copying that.
That's what I think it was all. It's several different books. It took like 10 years to write this. So it's from Genesis. It's basically like a commentary from Genesis through Revelation, and he goes through like all the prophets and stuff, and he goes through the Gospels, but it's not broken up that way like a commentary.
Right.
It's really just
he's kind of free flowing.
Yeah, but it does kind of, and maybe they put it together that way later or something. I don't know if he intentionally did that, but yeah, it took him forever to write it, so it wasn't like just one book floating around out there everybody was reading. I think it was just these works that he had, and they put it together. But I mean, it's really important, because he saw like basically the fall of Rome, and that was a big deal, because it was like, oh, I thought this was like the end. Like, a lot of people thought like, well, this is it. This is the empire. This is the whole thing.
The eternal city.
And then it's like, and it ends and it splits up, and it's like, go to like Istanbul and stuff. I was like, hang on, what is going on here? Like, this is
what is the world now?
Yeah, like there's nothing. What are we doing? And so then it was like a existential crisis for like a lot of Christians of like, well, I thought this was supposed to be kind of it. And he's saying like, no, God's kingdom is not of this world,
right?
And so it's not going to be this political, military like kingdom like we think or whatever, or like the Jews thought, or I still think, in that it is going to be the church, and yeah, it's not the city of man and the city of God, and so then it's not. So that's kind of what he's getting at, and he's talking about kind of how to be citizens in that city. So, but yeah, just kind of going through the whole Bible, and it's weird too, because he basically does apologetics against pagans, but like real pagans who like still believed in
still making sacrifices
and like, yeah. And so, and he's talking about it like, well, Felicity, you think about Felicity, someone prays to like for luck or whatever, for good fortune. But Felicity is sent by Jupiter. And so it's really just still at the whim of Jupiter. And so he's like going to the details of all this stuff. You're like, who believes in this? Like they did back then, like we would against like Mormons or Jehovah's Witness or something,
or even Catholics. Like, we're talking about lesser deities.
Yeah, exactly. Like how to evangelize to Catholics, or how to evangelize to Mormons or to whoever. It's like that, but like people who believe in Artemis and like all the gods and stuff. So it's very weird.
That's so weird.
Yeah,
that's especially weird because you'd like to think by 400 they were kind of past that. But apparently not.
Oh yeah, they're still kind of like, yeah, I guess into that stuff. So, but yeah, I definitely recommend it, but definitely in chunks for sure. It'll take you years to read it, but that's
you can teach a class on it now. That's your semester.
Yeah, exactly.
City of God.
Yeah. But
so where does he fall in his eschatology? Would you say after going through that whole thing?
I mean, it's kind of weird. Sometimes it seems post-mill of just like. God's kingdom, like we're here and we're part of it, but it's so hard to tell because I feel like some all-male people sound like that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's hard to tell the difference between like, okay, the church is the kingdom, or that's but not yet.
right.
kind of thing. And but he definitely, I think he did see more of like, I remember him talking about a personal Antichrist. So like that when we see the Antichrist or something, it's like, well, what about that?
Got a little bit of everything, just kind of put in there.
But,
interesting.
Yeah, it's a good book, but it's definitely it is like a bunch of books.
We need a bridge for the modern reader.
Yeah, and it's not hard to read though. It's not, for as big and long as it is. It's very readable. At least this edition.
Well, the Penguin Classic.
The Penguin Classic. Right. I don't know what the other. I mean, I think they're all like this though. They're just a translation. It's good. It's not like old.
What language did you write that in?
It's Latin, right? Or like.
Yeah, guess so.
But it's not hard to read. It's pretty readable. I mean, you get through it and you follow along. And
it's just a lot.
It's just a lot. It's just a lot, but it reads well. So.
And your other book that was not so readable.
Yeah, the last book I read. So I'm always up for trying to figure out this whole predestination, the elect, and Calvinism versus Arminianism, and free will, and the whole thing. So I found this book by D.A. Carson, Divine Sovereignty and Human Responsibility, Biblical Perspectives and Tension. I saw the title, and I know D.A. Carson from his other books. So I was like, oh man, this is it. We're gonna finally figure this stuff out, you know. And so I bought it. It's found on Amazon. Bought it, got it. And as soon as I got it, I just, even looking at it and just looking at the publisher, and stock publishers, and just opening it and looking at it, I knew from the way the text is laid out in it that this is like an academic work that you would find in like a journal or some sort of like. This is not for
the general reader.
Yeah, right. The dum-dums like me. And this is for professors to grade him on. And because it's part of his, he says, the material found in these chapters began life as a doctoral dissertation at Cambridge
That's
University.
when I would have put it away and just
defended in 1975. And I was like, that's the second sentence. And I'm like, and I knew right away. I knew this was not going to be what I thought it was, and it wasn't. It was definitely a bust, which sucks because the title seems to have it all. He basically just goes through and says, like, hey, there's tension between divine sovereignty and human responsibility in Scripture.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I know that. I'm trying to figure it out.
How do I resolve that?
Right.
That's the issue.
And his kind of thing is like, well, he kind of lands on you can't. Which, how do you feel about that? I was going to ask you, like, what?
I feel like you can't in this life. It's one of those things where you fall back on the hidden things belong to the Lord, but the things revealed belong to us.
So that's what he said. He says, let me see. He had a really good way to put it, which was basically, hang on. He's basically saying, we don't have all the puzzle pieces.
Right.
And we're trying to we're looking at the picture on the box. We've got some puzzle pieces on the table and we're trying to put it together, but we don't have all the puzzle pieces, which again, sounds like there's some sort of insufficiency in Scripture to get some real answer. Like, I think Sproul would disagree with him. You know what I mean? I don't know who all where he stands and stuff.
I would say it's an insufficiency in human capability.
Right, and that's what he would say too. But I don't know. I think there's enough to land somewhere.
Harmonize.
Because he's basically saying like, well, we don't have we don't have enough revealed to us, basically.
Right.
Like we do for salvation.
Right.
And we do for we know that God is sovereign and that we have responsibility. And we can act in that way without having all the answers exactly. Which, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of dissatisfying as an answer of what I was looking for, at least, in trying to figure out, like, everything is directed and ordained by God.
Right.
But he's not the author of evil.
Right.
And there's evil in this reality.
Yes.
So it's like, well, what, I think the answer leans more with, you got to zoom out further, because I think we're looking in specific verses and like proof texts and
Mhm.
stuff, and trying to say like, well, here it says, you know, who can stay his hand, you
Right.
know, and like I create destruction,
Right.
and I do all these things, and he hardens Pharaoh's heart, like he does all these things, and then but then we also see like him like responding
Mhm.
and testing
Mhm.
and stuff, and so like we see a very human or like personal side of
Right.
God. We see the ultimate like sovereign, omnipotent side, but then we also see it like the like heartbroken God, which
Right.
is weird to think about and stuff. And so then it's like, well, what are we dealing with here? What's in we're held responsible for our sins. And then you can say like, well, yes, after the fall, it is all of us, and we just have this condition. Or like the only person with free will was Adam,
Mhm.
and then he ruined it for everybody. But it was that way,
Right.
and his original intent was Eden, and we messed it up, you know. But then it's like, well, wow, like that. But then, so my big question was in the realm of like theodicy,
Mhm.
of like why evil, why pain, why cruelty,
Right.
why suffering, all these things. Well, it's because of us, because we ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We humans broke God's law. He had this intended for us,
Right.
paradise, you know, Eden, everything. We messed it up, and so everything else, blindness, everything,
Mhm.
it comes to is our response. We're responsible for all that,
Mhm.
and then He sent Christ to redeem us out of this, and He will make all things new, and He will take away pain and all those things again. But all the things can be. But then there's a question. Well, why the tree? Why the serpent?
Right.
Why didn't He just create Eden with no tree and just have us be there? Why did He create a serpent? Why create angels? And then did He not know that Lucifer was going to rebel?
Right.
And all those things. Yeah. So then, okay, then what is it? So like, why create if he's so sovereign, if He's so omnipotent and powerful, then why create even the possibility of having it go to where we would suffer and die and have sin and all these things? And that's a question that I was like wrestling with and stuff until I came across something Sproul wrote in a book. I think it's The Work of Christ. I think that it's over there. Yeah, the Work of Christ. And he talks about the right there. Yeah, right there. You're almost there. And he talks about the covenant of redemption and how there was a covenant of redemption because this is a covenantal faith that we're in, right? He makes a covenant with Adam, and then the covenant with Abraham and Noah and everybody, and so this is a covenantal faith. This is a series of covenants, but what Sproul talks about is a covenant made between the three persons of the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, in eternity past, before the world was created, and it's a covenant of redemption. Because in the redemption of people, all three persons of the Holy Spirit enact and fulfill basically their nature and their role. You know, of God calling and Christ redeeming us, and then the Holy Spirit indwelling us, and they all play a part in this redemption process. And so it's like their ultimate nature and their ultimate function is played out in the salvation of people for God's glory. And so he talks about that. And I'm not going to be able to find it. It's, yeah, it might be in the other one. What is Reformed theology? Anyway, so I think it is in that one actually. So, but I want to learn more about that because I think the answers to all these theodicy questions and stuff, which is the biggest like stumbling block for a lot of people, is in the idea of the covenant of redemption, because that explains the fall, the fortunate fall, you know, and because that makes God a redeeming God, right? The God we see, the triune God we see in the Bible, is a redeeming God, and so just like Hermes or Artemis or Apollo or Zeus or Ares, or if they'll have their sort of natures, right?
Mhm.
Like Aries is the god of war.
Right.
So if Aries were to create a universe in reality, what type of universe in reality would that be? A
Right.
warring one,
Right.
right? I mean, where the war is a main factor, and that's a big part of it, because then he fulfills his function and role as
Right.
the god of war.
He can't do anything but create that.
Right. Like, what else the world would he create? Okay, we have this redeeming God, this God of redemption in the Bible we see. Okay, if that God were to create a reality and universe, what type would it be? One, to be redeemed for his glory. And that's a big part of it too, is redemption for his glory. And so it's like, okay, that kind of narrows it down to almost just even the possibility of God creating a different kind of world. You know? So here, the covenant of redemption. With the eternal and omniscient God, there is no such thing as plan B. God worked out his plan of redemption before creation and even before the fall. Though he conceived this plan in light of man's fall and designed it to effect redemption from the fall. The covenant of redemption demonstrates the harmony within the Trinity, the total agreement between the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in the plan of salvation. Because that's all played out in salvation. Right. So it's not just happened to be like, oh, hey, you know what? We had this idea of like a peaceful Eden world reality, but they screwed up. Luckily, we're a God of redemption. Hey guys, they're playing right into us to fulfill our function as persons of the Trinity. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like, oh, thank God that, literally thank God that, that the Holy Spirit indwells. Like, that's what he does. And so, okay, so then that's what had to happen then. So, I don't know. It just puts everything into a much bigger perspective. And I wanted to learn more about it and be able to articulate it better. And I think that's kind of going to be the path to explaining the big why of like this whole theodicy problem of evil and stuff. And
because that is the ultimate objection to Reformed theology.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like that's the only real stumbling block where everybody really like, well, I don't know.
God is the author of evil.
Right. There is evil and he's sovereign. So
right. Well, it's funny because in this book he talks about like the Molinist in the Divine Sovereignty book. He talks about the Molinist view, which is basically like the cosmic card deal, where God in his wisdom picked the best possible reality out of like a selection of them, I guess. And so it's not on him,
right?
He just
this is what he had to work with.
He did what he could. Yeah, right. he had a set of universes and realities, what do they call it, plausible worlds to pick from. And he chose the one with the least amount of suffering and pain. But there's still some. Couldn't do anything about that. But, he did what he could, which is pick the best, in his wisdom and benevolence, picked the best one. That's Molinism. And he, just rejects it outright. He's like, well, we can toss aside
I'd like to see the other worlds that were worse than this one that he didn't pick from. What do those look like?
Which begs the question, where do these possible potential worlds come from?
Right. Well, according to Dr. Craig, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, you shouldn't ask such questions.
Yeah.
You don't need to
irrelevant.
ask such questions. Okay.
They just are.
Something is delimiting God, and we can't ask what that is.
Truths don't have to be made. There doesn't have to be a truth maker.
Yeah, there's going to be a truth maker. It's like, okay, dude, that's it's just convenient. It's like, okay, this isn't, God didn't make it this way. Who did? Well, no one.
Yeah.
Well, how convenient. Yeah.
His explanation, I know it was probably the best explanation, but it came off looking really bad.
The only consistent answer to that question is humans. Well, who makes this? Because God is looking at all the potential decisions every human being would ever make in human history. And from that can be the only thing. If we're truly free, if we have free will, and we're not delimited by anything, we make our choices. We're not picking from best possible realities that we know of. We don't have that kind of knowledge. And so that's the middle knowledge.
Right.
Like we just have our knowledge. So that would have to be the answer, is that God is looking down the tunnels of time through all the potentialities of all the different worlds based on what we would decide.
Right.
We're the ones doing the evil, right?
Right.
We're doing the bad things. We're sinning. Okay. Well, then what other answer could it be that he looked at us and what we would, what potential realities we can provide.
Right.
And that he picks the best one. So that's God responding to us.
So we're the card dealer.
We're us collectively, I guess, in each potential world.
Right.
All our terrible decisions or good decisions or whatever decisions we make create this deck of cards for God to choose from. And he chose the world where people make the best choices. And it's like, okay, now that's God responding. They don't say that because then that's God responding to us.
Right.
And so we're the cosmic card dealer ultimately. But that's kind of the only consistent answer if we got to find a potential truth world maker.
That's a weird spot to be in and to defend that. Like to think that's the better position to have.
It weakens God.
Yeah,
It brings him
but
down.
that's okay because it cleans his hands.
Right. In an attempt to get him off the hook,
right?
They've just taken away his sovereignty and power and lordship or dominion. Everything.
Strange. That was weird. That was a weird debate to watch, just to see them go back and forth at it. But speaking of other worlds,
yeah, now we get to really create our own worlds,
and let's see how those turn out. God help us all. The metaverse is coming.
So, do you understand the metaverse?
I understand it. It's essentially the Matrix made by humans, not machines. But we have the option to come in and out whenever we feel like it.
My biggest issue, and I don't think we'll see this solved, maybe so, everything moves so fast, is how to access the metaverse.
Okay, so I watched Zuckerberg's whole presentation.
Right.
And the way they laid it out, there's like tiers. They didn't want to make it seem like you will be in the Matrix. It was more like,
but isn't that what we want?
Yes, but I think they're trying to have it so that people who don't want to be in can still be in. So they want to have the option to, if say you're somewhere.
No. Okay. When I say how to access the metaverse,
right?
What I mean is, am I looking at a screen?
No,
on this phone.
No, in this future,
have a virtual reality headset.
In this future reality,
like what is my physical body doing?
Well, it depends how deep you're in.
But that's what I mean. Like, am I? Okay, I'm not walking.
Yes, you're not walking.
Okay, so I'm sitting in a chair.
Right.
And I've got goggles on.
In theory.
Because the Matrix, they plug the thing back in your head.
Right. But it could be as simple as a working functional pair of Google glasses that don't look stupid when you're wearing
which we don't have anywhere near yet.
Yes, this is all speculation.
Well, that's future.
Right.
Like, because if you want to live in a metaverse, you can do that right now with the video games.
Yes.
Right.
Technically,
I mean, but that's a screen and a controller.
Right. Or a helmet at best.
A helmet. But who has those? Nobody has those.
That's true.
Nobody has those. Everybody accesses the internet and the social media world with their phone.
Right.
So that's
screens like we have right here.
iPad, laptop, phone. I'm saying there's going to have to be this whole other revolutionary thing.
But the thing is, they know that and they're working towards that.
Which one's coming sooner though? Isn't that kind of behind? I think they can create metaverses in the whole virtual world quicker than we can comfortably access it.
But that's true, yes. And that's going to be the thing that's holding them back. And I think they're aware of that.
But look at it this way. We had social media.
Yes.
And that was like a big deal.
Right.
We had MySpace. We had like Friendster and like whatever else, just even Facebook and those things before we had the smartphone.
Yes.
So the smartphone changed everything.
Right.
And so we wouldn't access social media not nearly the most intrusive way that we do. Like symbiotic way that we do without smartphones.
Right.
Even a BlackBerry or anything, we have to have super fast scrolling, fits in the palm of my hand.
Right.
Instagram, little square.
At this point, it's
my phone perfectly.
I feel it buzzing. Like, what is that?
Yeah. But I mean, but I'm just saying, like the smartphone really got us hooked and what's the word I'm looking for? Like cyborg almost, a symbiotic like immersive experience with social media. So I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to take, I think, another insanely revolutionary invention like the smartphone for us to give a crap about the metaverse.
But I think the pieces are there in theory, right? Like,
right. So what are they doing? Yeah.
So I watched this whole presentation, the whole everything, the whole shebang bang. And it's that idea of that, like you said, quick, super fast, to the point to where if you were to say, hey, do you guys want to come play a game? I could put on my headset, whatever. And it wouldn't even be like it would be like we're interacting like this. You would see me in your living room. I would see your living room, and we'd be playing on a table.
Right.
So it'd be like a holodeck is what they want more than anything.
Okay.
The danger room. or something to that effect.
Will people have rooms in their
Yes,
homes?
they want you to have homes and rooms and NFTs hanging on the wall like this.
Like on Community, where they had that like that taped off room.
Yes, the Imaginarium. That's what they wanted.
They wanted to have Imaginariums.
But
No
like
furniture.
for real. Yeah, no furniture. Everything's in and they want to have haptics so you can act like you're feeling your stuff. So if you want to go grab something from a shelf, you feel like you're grabbing a book off your shelf. And
But see, I just don't. I think that kind of immersive experience is gonna take something insanely revolutionary.
It's the
like
brain
a
chip.
smartphone.
It's the brain chip. It's coming.
It's gotta be that.
Yeah, because Elon's saying next year he can chip us if we want it.
Would you get chipped?
There's no way I would get chipped. There's no way.
Neuralink,
especially like the first one, the buggy one.
Yeah,
that's the one that's gonna glitch and people are just falling over.
So if you trip and like bump your head,
yeah, it just cracks in there, and then you're done. You got to go to the mall to find the guys that'll do it for you cheaper to fix it.
Some Turkish
like,
dude, like,
look at your phone. They'll just
Armenian
they'll
guy,
switch it out real quick for $200.
Perfumes and Dragon
a
Ball Z.
kiosk where they'll just
get a Dragon Ball Z phone cover.
Oh, that's gonna be weird too because you have the patch because they don't have to shave your head and go in unless they can just like, but they got to go through your skull. It's got to go on your brain.
What are we doing, man?
Oh, well, we're not doing anything, but
our kids.
Yeah, that's the thing because to my parents, it's weird that we were attached to our phones, right? Like the idea of, to me, it was always, hey, grab my phone. I was like, where's your phone? I left it in the room. Why would you leave it in the room? Why don't you have it with you? Or
attached?
Yeah, if I call you, why are you not answering? You have it on you. I don't have it on me. So for our kids, it's gonna be like that.
What's gonna be the like dad clipped on the belt?
It's gonna be the headsets. It's gonna be still that.
Those are gonna be the dads.
Those are gonna be the dad.
All the dads have the big headsets on. Like, come on,
Dude, sitting in a chair like this with the
chipped already. Get chipped.
We're still gonna be. Look at the shark.
Yeah,
it's like I'm there.
But how that won't change your eyes and what you see, like a Neuralink. You'll still always have to have some kind of screen in front of your face.
Yeah, and that's what they want to get it to the point to where it's glasses or contacts or something.
That thing like Jordy has on.
Yeah, that's the corrugated cardboard. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's the way he was laying it out looked cool. Like the idea that you could work at your desk here and put on your Meta glasses and you would see all the stuff from work, and it would be like you were at your work desk and you could access everything you need from the same space.
I mean, I already do that.
Right. But not from the screen, not through the network. It would just be here. It's hard to explain. It's like VR, but better and real.
But I feel like VR has been around for a very long time.
Yeah, but it's always sucked.
Right. But so that's what I'm saying. But it's going to take a change there in that space, in that industry, not the metaverse. Right. Because we're going to have, how long was the internet before we had smartphones? 20 years?
20 years. Yeah. A while.
25 years almost. So I think it's going to be that kind of distance.
Well, cost is going to be a thing too, because like an Oculus is still like $400.
Yeah, that'll go down.
They have to.
I mean, our phones technically are already paying on. I mean,
yeah,
it should be a bill.
Yeah, that's true. Bill. Yeah,
you know, but people will pay it.
You gotta pay off your brain chip.
Oh, man. I don't know. So metaverse, like, what's the metaverse like specifically just by itself?
So the metaverse is just the digital space. So in the same way that you have a home page, you would have a home in the metaverse, and that's your home. And you have your NFTs hanging on the wall. You have your streaming services in there, everything in that area. And you can walk in there and look like whatever you want to look like. You can look like yourself.
Neo had hair.
Yes.
He was bald in real life.
You can do that, or you can be whatever. And I thought that was interesting. He was showing what Kodak is working on with them. And they're talking about real-time rendering with facial expression, skin texture, and everything. And it looked pretty good now. But I can imagine in years to where it'll look like we're sitting across from each other in real life.
That changes the whole like trans identity.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought.
You can actually be a different gender.
To anybody who sees you, you will be that.
So it can't be too much off your real self.
It can be if you want to. You can. That's one option. You can do that, or you can be. There's some weirdos. Do you remember the kids that used to hang out at the mall with the wolf ears and tails?
Yeah, they're trying not to be themselves.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna be.
They'll just be real.
They're gonna be wolves. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm saying. No one's not gonna be themselves.
Yeah.
No one's gonna want to look like themselves.
Yeah. Oh, why would you? Why would you?
Well, I wouldn't. So what would that do with like racism and stuff?
You'd never know what anybody is really.
Can you pick to be black?
I'm sure you
Can I be
could.
black?
Yeah, if you wanted to, you could be a 6'8" black man. You'd be Shaq if you wanted to.
No, we Shaft.
Trench coated afro all the time.
Switch around, sure. Heck yeah.
You could, you could be whatever you wanted.
But wouldn't everybody be that?
Everybody in this, I would assume.
You just have a bunch of shafts
Yeah.
and like Brad Pitt's walking around.
Yeah, nobody would be real anymore. But that's what everybody wants. You could be the best version of whatever you want.
I mean, this, but I see the appeal. But I think you always know it's not real though. Like,
But it doesn't matter.
People in the Matrix don't know they're in the Matrix.
Right.
Will it become that?
But it would be like Cypher. He wanted to go back in the Matrix because real life sucked.
Yeah, but he wouldn't know that he was back in the Matrix.
Right. He wouldn't know. But I mean, if you were in the Matrix and you got brought onto the ship and you were eating that porridge, wouldn't you plug me in? I don't care if I know I'm in or not. I'll take it either way.
I'll live in 1999 forever.
Forever. That's gonna be everybody. If you go,
could you pick like a Western world?
Like,
Westworld.
I'm sure you could because there's digital real estate.
Yeah. So it could be a night.
Yes, you could go to a night world. It would be like Westworld. They would have the different parks you could go to.
People just never leave.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's so crazy.
Just like they never want you to leave Facebook. They want to track you across apps. They want to integrate all the apps together. They want to do that in the digital space.
Well, okay, so that brings up the different thing because Facebook and all those. There have to be sort of like. Here's the problem with that. The control aspect of it, because if you break a rule,
yes,
they can literally just like
shut you off.
Yeah. You can't leave your little home.
Yep.
So you put your goggles on. And you're like, well, I can't leave anywhere. So, but what I'm still thinking of it kind of like Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
Where like you're walking around, very sandboxy world. Where
right.
Walk around. Will there be other video games I can play? Like
yes.
If I get locked out of one. Like, well, I'll just go to the Westworld.
Because there'll be moderators and they'll tell you you're banned from this one. Yeah, in theory, yes. And you're thinking too small. Because Zuckerberg's talking about, forget walking.
That's how I do.
You're going to snap your fingers and you're there. You'll be in Japan for a meeting without ever having to leave your house. But you'll feel like you're there. You'll be walking through Zen gardens like you're really walking through Zen gardens.
Man, this is just so like...
The appeal for me, I was thinking like, okay, what's your comic book fantasy? If you could have any superhero experience, what would be the one you want to have?
Like in the world too,
not
just the character.
Yeah. Like you could be that hero for a day or have that aspect of their power for a day.
Probably invincible. Or Superman.
So you could do that.
Just be invincible.
Yeah, you could be. And you would be him. You'd be invulnerable.
Yeah,
you could fly.
But again, wouldn't everybody be him?
If they wanted to.
But see, how's that? That wouldn't work. That game gets boring fast. If everyone's a Superman. You know what I mean?
Then no one's Superman.
Right. Incredibles, yeah.
But I guess
some rules or limits of like, okay, well,
I don't know if there is.
You know what it's going to be? Only super rich. You're gonna have to pay.
I could see that.
So it's still going to be classes and like tiers of people.
Right.
It's going to be like, oh, Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg are going to be Superman. And
you're going to be an ant. So I'm going to be a plebe down here. But imagine that if you could plug in and you're Spider-Man and you're swinging and you feel like you're really swinging. Like you feel the momentum, you feel the wind, you feel the tension, everything. It feels like you're really doing it. Wouldn't that be worth plugging in for a little while?
I just don't think I'll be able to. I think that'll be too expensive for me.
It depends.
Because technically I could like go parasailing or something. But I just won't do that.
Well, that's what they were showing in the Metaverse.
You know who does go parasailing? Rich people.
Yeah, that's what's funny because they were showing when Zuckerberg's like, you could hang out with your friends in the Metaverse, and he's showing them all surfing. And I'm like, who does that with their friends? Where do you live?
He does.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what the Metaverse is. You can have Zuckerberg's life in the Metaverse.
There's no way they're going to keep it equal. There's no way you can.
Well, they have the Facebook. They're trying to have the Facebook currency.
Dude, I was listening to that today. Like somebody talk about that today. That makes them a nation.
Yes.
That makes them a country.
Right? With no borders. And a king, technically.
But that's going to be the Metaverse.
Yeah.
So, can you rebel?
Not if you want to. No, they just shut you off from the top.
Oh, because how do you rebel on Facebook? You get kicked off.
You get kicked off, exactly.
But you get to post one thing.
Right. So and that's the last thing.
You'll like blow up a
but this is different. They'll scrub you. They'll put it right back up like it never happened. It's digital. It's not real. None of it's real.
So weird, man. Gosh, it's so okay. So thinking about this from like different, because this isn't going to affect us,
right?
We're going to see the kind of roots of this a little bit, but we're
Mhm.
not going to see like the full.
Right. We won't
like,
see the
here we
metaverse
are.
in
We're,
true.
we're not going to arrive.
Right.
I think in our lifetime.
Right.
Of what we're talking about, but our kids might.
Yes.
So how does that affect how we should be raising our kids?
Hmm.
You've got toddlers.
I think there's going to be two kinds of people in the new world. You're going to have metaverse people and real life people.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to have much overlap.
Or do you think it'd be that, or do you think it's going to be? I think it's going to be like who do you know that doesn't have an email address? No one.
Right.
But they exist.
Right.
There are some people in the world that don't have email addresses, but you barely know them.
Right.
Is that how it's going to be metaverse? Like,
yeah, for
there's
sure.
going to be real life people, but you barely know them.
Right.
Like everybody's on here.
Like that's going to be school. You're going to go to school in the metaverse, and maybe you only see somebody during school because that's the only time they're on.
How do our bodies just not turn to jello?
They do, but you don't care. It's Wall-E.
Yeah, but how do they not just die at 20?
I mean, if they can put a brain chip in you, they can put other stuff in you,
Like what?
like an artificial heart or anything.
Okay, so all these other industries have to come.
Yes, and they will because there'll be a demand for them.
So I'll have to get a new heart just so I can sit and be in the metaverse.
But you're thinking of it that way, like I'll have to get a new heart. Think of somebody who has a bad heart, and they can sell it to them like that. You can have a new heart, or to anybody. If they say your heart's going to give out at 80, but you could get 30, 40, 50 extra years out of this one.
There won't be any sort of machine that moves your body for you, like because if you're just sitting there.
Well, see, that's
it's
what's
not
crazy.
just heart. It's
right.
not just fat.
And
it's
that's what's crazy because they're talking about
and like
yes.
How are you gonna go potty?
Well, they're talking about exercise in the metaverse. That's what's crazy to me. And the way they do it now is like with the Peloton. You know how you get on the bike.
They'll never be able to.
I don't know, man. Have you ever seen those
metaverse toilets?
Yeah, that's true. You'll still have to go to the restroom.
There ain't no haptic feedback.
You get a catheter.
You
get a catheter, and man.
So you're basically an invalid, like a vegetable,
but not in the metaverse.
Yeah, but that's not gonna affect your brain. Yes, if you just sit around and do nothing all day, that affects your brain, and your brain's in the
right.
metaverse.
But you won't feel like you're doing nothing all day because your muscles will be getting those charges from your haptics. It's like you remember those things you would put on and they would flex your abs for you, so you wouldn't have to work out. It's gonna be that, but a whole bodysuit,
like those old timey machines.
Yeah, exactly. While you're
that's working out, shaking your fat body.
I mean, they're talking about right now. It's the bike, right? Like you get on the Peloton, you put your iPad, and you can see the trail you're riding. But they want to have that feel like you're really in there, so you're gonna feel the wind,
so
and you're gonna
all treadmills and bikes and stuff.
That's the theory, but I mean, maybe they get to the point where it's not. Maybe your suit just feels like maybe you put on a bodysuit and you feel like you're walking.
Man, that's gonna be weird.
And they like shock. I mean, if they have a chip in your brain, they can make your arm feel like you're in water.
They'll have to make like a 360 treadmill where
where you go any direction,
back,
right?
And just like pivot and run.
Or not. I'm telling you, maybe not. Maybe they just make your brain feel like you are.
But your body does affect.
It will atrophy, yes, from not moving.
But that'll help affect your brain.
Not if they can like delay the feeling. That's all that matters is the feeling.
No.
Like think about everybody who has a heroin rotted arm.
Yeah.
Like they know that's coming, but it feels so good in the moment, they're not going to stop shooting up.
Yeah, but if both arms are rotted, they can't get the needle in.
Yeah, that's true. And at that point,
I'm saying. Like, at a certain point, your body's going to deteriorate so much that it no matter
but,
what.
I mean, they're talking about loading consciousness into the computer, which to me sounds impossible. Obviously, like you can't load your soul digital,
yeah,
right?
It'll be.
But you won't know that because the guy will be dead.
Yeah,
but you'll just have your facsimile. Yes.
Yeah, it's not gonna be you. So raising our kids. How should we raise our kids right now? We know this is coming. This is not going away.
No.
Bitcoin,
Metaverse. No, I have Bitcoin. I have some Bitcoin.
NFTs. This is the future.
I hate NFTs.
This is the future. So how do we raise our kids? Because this changes things.
Yes. So, well, I think we have to backtrack a little from what we did because you always make the point, and I think on the thing they made the point, the social network or the social dilemma, that we were playing with fire and we didn't know what it was. We just started playing with it. Yeah. Now we have 15, 20 years of hindsight to be able to say like, oh, it's a terrible idea to give a kid a smartphone and let them just be online.
Yeah.
So we can, I mean, a little bit retroactively, like, not let them do everything we did.
So do we educate them? Like this is like changes how we even educate them. Right? Like, because I was thinking, because we're going to homeschool our kids.
Right.
And so, but we were also teaching them how to think.
Right.
And really think for themselves and not just, absorb information and regurgitate on tests, but actually like problem solve with, the whole like trivium, medieval schooling, basically. So does it change that, or is that like, are we gonna have like what's politics gonna look like? We're gonna have a president.
Is it going to matter?
I mean, it has to, right? Because like our body has to be somewhere, so
I mean,
it matters what house I'm in. Like we can't just be in a parking lot. We'll die.
Right, but you have
our bodies can't be exposed to elements.
But I mean, what if Facebook has?
So we'll always need a house.
Right, but what if that's provided by Facebook too? What if they start? What if they get into that market where like we build a house that's metaverse ready?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that changes the physical landscape.
Right.
So how do we prepare for that?
Why? It's because, like I said, I see that when I think about the metaverse and I look out in the future, I'm seeing metaverse people in their metaverse pods, and I'm seeing abandoned buildings everywhere else.
I don't
like. Why would you go to the office when you can work in the metaverse, right?
Right. That's
why,
what I'm doing.
Why would right? Exactly. Why would you go to if you can feel like you're in an amusement park? There's no reason to have an amusement park.
So all that goes away.
All that goes away, or it just rots. But
or creates an opportunity for the real life people.
Exactly. That's my post-mill sensibility.
We're gonna keep it.
The meek will inherit the earth.
Everybody else will be in the metaverse.
Right. Everybody else will be in the metaverse. Exactly. Because I was thinking about that too. Like, say they get the haptics working, right? And you can be whatever gender you want. You can experience whatever level of hedonism you want, and it's all pleasure. That's it, right?
Yeah.
No one's having kids at that point anymore.
Oh, yeah, no one's having kids now.
Right. Except us.
But so then who is there to plug into the metaverse then? If IRL people.
Well, in the same way that we think about like how do we keep turning out these radical liberals if conservatives are the only ones having kids? Who's going to plug in? Who they're going to have is all the kids that we don't raise properly.
So when our kids are 10,
right,
and this is kind of up and going,
right,
a little bit. We're not in it. I mean, because we're going to be.
But the headsets are cheap.
Yeah,
and they want one.
Things get cheaper.
Right.
It's like, and they're like, okay, I want to be in it. So this is different than just don't give a kid a cell phone.
Right.
This is like, don't. I mean, we can't do that. Definitely can't do that.
Right.
So should we have cell phones?
Somebody asked about Wilson about that. And they asked him at this point, should we just consider cell phones a failure and abandon smartphones?
Yeah.
And what he was saying is it's not a smart idea to throw away the consequences of wealth because they can be used poorly. And so he looks at cell phones and the internet and social media as the consequences of a robust society. We built all of this stuff. This is the wealth that comes from it. So it would be stupid to abandon it. But I think it's perspective because he's looking at it like tools. Okay. And most of us don't.
And can we look at the metaverse that way?
Possibly.
Will it be meta churches?
Yes, and that annoys me. I'm sure there will be. You can be a street preacher in the metaverse.
Oh, man, but no, you can't.
Yeah, that's true. No, you can't.
You can't.
They'll shut you off.
So that is impossible to just preach any sort of biblical truth in the metaverse.
What if you're a metaverse missionary and you go into the metaverse?
But every metaverse is controlled by
right. But what if you get people to come into real life with you? What if that's the goal?
Red pill people.
Yeah, you red pill. You're Morpheus. You're in there getting people to come to real life.
Then they'll shut you off.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, that's what it is. Like that's ultimately they're gonna Facebook you and cancel you and just be like, bam, you're out now.
Yeah.
We said no proselytizing.
That's true. Yeah.
And then just boom, and they're gonna know you did it
right
away
because you'll be traceable in every way.
I mean, I don't think people will stand for that because there's gonna be a lot of things that you can't say. I think people are pushing back against a lot of woke control that's happening in real life that doesn't have the power that it would in the metaverse.
Right, but people our age and older are pushing back. Who didn't? We remember when you
younger people.
Do you think so?
And maybe that's how we should raise our kids to push back against this kind of overlord control in real life, so that they won't even go into the controlled metaverse.
It won't even look appealing
because it's 100% controlled.
Right.
We're controlled right now a little bit, but I don't have to open my phone. I don't have to get on social media. That's the only thing that's saving us is that we don't have to have Facebook accounts.
Right.
And Twitter and Instagram, whatever. You don't have to. So you're only controlled as much as you invest yourself into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the metaverse is going to be so controlled that people are just going to be like right away, like, oh, then I'm out of here. Like I can't say anything. I can't be, because the people that like, I think there's going to be people like us who want to be super people like us.
Right.
Which is just like,
it's fun.
well, or just like saying the truth.
Right.
And like talking about the Bible and talking about God and talking about, how biblical principles,
Right,
of
right.
everything. We're not going to be able to at all. Like you barely can right now on social media.
Right.
So like and this is going to be 10 times more controlled than social media.
Hmm.
So then we're going to be like, well, then forget it. Like I'm going to be in it if I can't open my mouth. You know what I mean? And I think that the pushback is going to be very fast because
I don't know, man.
Because it's so controlled.
I don't know. And I would like to think that, but then I think about COVID. And I think about the fact that they've backtracked. You remember when if you got COVID, stay home for 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks to stop.
And now they're saying 5 days. 5 days and you're good to go out in public again. And people are losing their mind and demanding 2 weeks again. Like, how dare you let us out in 5 days? You're going to kill everybody.
But they're just people don't really want that, though. If they had to actually live in that, like, they don't want to because they just want a virtue signal and say be the good people to demand.
I think enough people are scared enough to go along with it.
But it's like the people who want to defund the police don't live where they need police.
Yes,
it's that kind of thing.
Right,
though.
but that's what I'm saying
in the metaverse.
But the people who
they're not going to say we want all this control. They'll be like, that means you too. It's like, oh, well, I'm out.
Right, but those are the people who just go along with that.
Yeah, but the people who won't, I just think it'll be so fast. I think it's so controlled that the pushback will be so fast that it'll just be abandoned by people, or people will just be like, well, then no, this is completely. So I'm gonna not be me at all. Everybody wants to be a super version of themselves,
right?
But they don't want to be someone else entirely,
right? So how much of a split do you see? Like, if you had to guess from 100% of the population, how much is on the metaverse and how much is not at that point?
Well, I think this is not going to take off like we think it is, or as fast as we think it is, because of the industry of goggles and screens and glasses. Right. It's not going to be catching up as fast as the metaverse wants it to.
Right.
And so a lot of people are going to be on the screens or on the computers, or on crappy VR things, and that is when they're going to see how controlled it is, and just going to be like, well, then never mind. And so then I don't think it'll catch enough steam for the goggle industry to even catch up to it, because they'll be like, no one's getting on this. They can't be themselves. They can't open their mouths without Zuckerberg smashing them or deleting them or canceling them. So why would that creates no incentive for the goggle industry to like do it.
Right.
But see, because there wasn't that with social media at the beginning. It wasn't controlled. It wasn't so crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
At the beginning. So when smartphones came along, I was like, yeah, put it all on the apps on smartphones. Everybody loves it. They want it. They want MySpace. They want Facebook. They want all these new things. And then we saw how controlled it is. And I think this is just like a preview of how controlled Metaverse is going to be. And I think it's going to be so controlled that it's just going to be so unappealing to people.
What do you think? There's going to be the same way that they're trying to start other Twitters like Getter or Gab. There's going to be other metaverses.
Well, apparently there's a bunch of metaverses, right? There's like a Western one, you said.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but that's like all operating under the umbrella of Facebook, I guess, because they're the only ones that I see kind of pushing this. But if somebody else going to be like, well, I have my own metaverse over here, not as big, not as fancy, but you can do whatever you want.
It's sort of like Bitcoin,
okay,
or cryptocurrencies,
right?
So the only reason right now, and for the past however long it's been a thing, anyone gives a crap about crypto is its value in US dollars or other currency or existing currency, because you can't buy anything with crypto,
right?
And so it's like, okay, the only reason it's as big of a deal it even is now is because of what people care about it in dollars,
right?
Well, okay, if it's not, we're not going to ban the dollar if that's the only reason we give a crap about crypto is how much it's worth in dollars.
Right.
It's an investment. People will see it as like a gambling kind of investment, which is great. But that just enforces the dollar, not crypto.
Right. Crypto doesn't stand on its own.
You're right. And as long as we only care about it in dollars, it never will. It's going to have to shift from people stop speculating and gambling in the stock market of crypto and everything with dollars, with US dollars. That's going to have to stop. And then crypto is going to have to be actually usable for it to be this thing that everybody wants it to be or think it's going to be. I don't know if that's going to happen because if it gets too big, then and there's a bunch of different cryptos, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which I don't understand either, because it's like, well, we're gonna create our own dollar. Okay, great. Now I've got like 20 different currencies in my wallet.
And they all correspond differently to each other because this one's worth more and this one's not.
Right, but then it's just like, point systems for companies basically, and so, but that's saying if we even get there. I don't even think we're gonna get there because that shift from people caring about it in dollars to standing on its own. Because then it's like gold. It's true. It is like gold. But what happened with gold? Well, we ran out of it. And what keeps a rich person from having all the Bitcoins? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, can you have Bitcoin billionaires?
Yeah.
Okay, well then what would happen? Like, so then no one else has money?
Yeah.
There's not even 1 billion Bitcoins.
Yeah. Essentially. You know what's hilarious is there's some Bitcoins that are lost forever because they were on a hard drive. There's a guy who had to get permission from the city because he had a hard drive full of Bitcoin that he got early. Right. So now it's worth millions of dollars. Yeah. And it got thrown away. And he can't find it and he can't access it.
Right. But if it wasn't worth crap in dollars, that guy's not out there.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. That shift is got to happen, and I don't see that happening.
Ooh, not for us, but I mean, if you live online, if you exist online, and everything you exchange for is online,
there's too many people. That's the problem, and that's the problem with current currency, is that we just have to. It can't be backed by anything. It's not enough of it to go around. No one's going to have $1 in their pocket. We're going to have a fraction of dollars.
Right.
Pennies are going to be whatever they are. If all our currency right now, all our minted coins and dollar bills were actually backed by something, they'd be worth fractions of what they are. A penny would be like $20 if it was all like had to be backed by something real.
Right.
Which Bitcoin is.
Right.
So then now you're going to have a fraction of Bitcoin, and everybody's going to have like 0.00 whatever.
Well, that's what it is. Nobody has a Bitcoin right now. Like you own point whatever of a Bitcoin because a Bitcoin is worth like $48,000.
Right. And so, but it's only going to get worse than that. Again, dollars. And that's what I'm saying. Like,
but I mean, how long until that falls apart? Because dollars also aren't worth anything.
You can't get away from this problem of inflation. Of printing money.
Right.
And money meaning nothing really because there's too many people. I think it's a scale problem. There's too many people. If it was like back when we created the idea of money, it was 10 people in a village, like that kind of makes sense. You can have gold and it's all backed by something because there's enough to go around. But now it's just too many people. I mean, for there to be some limited currency, that's what it is. There's too many people for there to be any sort of limited, finite amount of a currency.
So you just have to have an unlimited currency that's always inflating.
I don't see another way around it, like just on a scale of it, because then, again, like someone's gonna be. Can you have a Bitcoin billionaire who has all the Bitcoins? Then what happens? He just owns the Bitcoin currency,
right?
Okay, well that's not good.
Well, then you abandon it because then, that guy has it all. There's no point to having it anymore.
Right, exactly.
And then it's
on to the next one, and on to the next one. Now we got 1,000 different cryptocurrencies. I don't know, man. Like it just seems like a black hole.
But I mean, to me, money seems the same way because money's also not worth anything, and you can just make more if you want. And
that's what I'm saying. Like cryptocurrency is going to be what we have today in money, which is a problem, which we're trying to get away from. It's going to be regulated.
We're kind of trying to get away from it.
It's going to be regulated
eventually. Yeah, I mean, the Fed is talking about making their own Bitcoin cryptocurrency.
It's so freaking complicated. We won't see crypto in our lifetime. I don't think our kids will see it in their lifetime. Being a normal way of paying for things because it's so complicated. It's so complicated. Someone was explaining it to me, and it sounded the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
It's so volatile too.
Because I was like, okay, how do you have Bitcoin? Well, you have a wallet,
right?
Okay, well, how do I know it's because it's all untraceable, right? It's supposed to be you can't find, you don't know it's yours.
Right.
I was like, okay, say I want to give you 10 Bitcoins. How do I do that? I want to give you 10.
You need their wallet number,
right? Which is 25 different
words.
Right.
Yes.
You lost me. You know how many passwords I have to log into?
Right.
And I write it down.
Well, that's why it has to be.
And if someone gets my 25 words, they get all my money. And that they have access to my wallet.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so I can't write it down anywhere.
No.
So I have to remember it, which I won't.
Or you have to be always logged in on something.
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
I mean,
it has to be like your real wallet.
Complicated. And then he's like, "Well, then you have your address, or what is it? Like it's your wallet, it's your address, or it's your I forget what he said." And he showed it to me. It's this gigantic link,
right,
of just random words. I'm like, okay, so you're copy pasting that somewhere. You're not memorizing that,
right?
That paragraph of random letters and stuff.
Well, that's how it has to be secure. It has to be so complicated you can't memorize it.
That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be so complicated nobody can use it.
Well, I mean, they'll simplify it at some point.
Well, then the more they simplify it, the more vulnerable it becomes.
Yes.
So then we're right back to where we are.
But it doesn't matter because it's the veneer of newness. That's what appeals to everybody. You know what?
It doesn't appeal to me at all.
Well, of course not, because we see the end of it already. That's the difference.
I see the loop back around to
Right.
what we already have.
It's the NFTs, like they're stupid. It's stupid. It's worse than like the high art trade is already stupid.
Yeah.
But NFTs are like that to the next level because you don't even have a thing. There's not even a thing. It's just a digital asset.
I can't even burn it for a fire.
Right. And the whole thing is
Lord.
like, oh, well, you know, if you make a copy, this one is still the unique original. Like, no, it's not. The two copies are exactly the same because they're digital.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that this one has a different number. They're the same thing.
I just don't see this taking off in any way.
It's
just
gonna
for all these reasons, for all these moving parts of the access, the physical access to the metaverse issue. That's an issue,
right? That's a big one
because we're just staring at screens,
right,
or stupid virtual headsets, or whatever. And because lightning struck with social media and smartphones, we're expecting that lightning to strike again. And
right.
I don't think
because it did. So why wouldn't it? That's the thinking.
It might, but not with this. It's some other thing, maybe. But I don't think it's. We're trying to like plan for the lightning strike.
Yes,
that's what I see.
Yes,
and
right.
That doesn't work. You know what I mean? It's like this perfect thing has to happen in history and culture to get us to like where we're all living in the metaverse.
See,
that's not going to happen.
I'm starting to think it's not even that. I'm starting to think it's a scam where they're telling you the lightning strike is coming, and they're setting up these vaporware companies where they're going to get rich. And by the time the lightning never strikes, right? But by the time the lightning never strikes, they're already out of town. The wagon's packed up. The snake oil salesman's moved on.
That's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm pointing to is like this crypto thing. It's never going to take off because, but everybody's excited about it because it's worth in dollars. Okay, great. Play that gamble, that casino, but that's it. I mean, sure, if you want to get rich off crypto in dollars, go for it. But it's not going to become the new dollar.
There's going to be something. So Biden's starting to want to tax PayPal and Venmo, all the money sharing apps, all the stuff we share between each other, they want access to now.
Right.
And they want to charge taxes on that.
Right.
Someone's going to come up with a workaround. Whether it's just physical money, we're just handing each other dollar bills again that nobody can see and track. Maybe it's that. I don't know. So do you think the reality is going to get more real because this stuff is just stupid and everyone's going to see?
Yeah. I mean, there's the implosion possibility, or it's just like everybody's just so like, what are we doing? This is so
we just all have a moment of clarity.
Yeah. And it just implodes on itself. And honestly, like that's how I feel like raising my kids. I was like teaching them to hunt and teaching them to build a log cabin and teaching them to like, because that's what it comes down to. I mean, if our bodies are left out in the elements into exposure and there's nothing in the real world to even put my body so I can plug into the metaverse, none of this matters anyway.
Right.
So we're always going to have to keep our bodies alive. Well, that means food. Well, that means farming. That means some kind of, real life stuff. Because if we don't have real lives, then we can't plug into the metaverse. So none of this matters anyway. So you got to move back a little bit, and and I think that's going to be the IRL people, the in real life people, are going to be the smartest, most capable people, because the more we plug into digital space, the more anxiety ridden we are.
Right.
And like, the
less we know.
Yeah. It's like smoking 1,000 cigarettes a day. I mean, that's what we're talking about, plugging in the metaverse.
Right.
No one's going to do that. We'll be dead. And so everybody's going to just kill themselves because they're on the metaverse all day, getting cyberbullied. And, we've seen the mental health impacts of social media. Times that by 1,000 with the metaverse. Well, you're dead then. You know what I mean? You actually kill yourself because you just feel so like such crap about yourself. Whatever, you're so controlled, and you're so.
Well, it's even worse. Imagine you make the perfect version of you.
Yeah.
And then people still just trash it all day.
Right. And they will.
Yeah.
You pick that
by somebody whose avatar looks like Hello Kitty. They're just trashing you all day.
Yeah, we're still going to communicate with each other in the metaverse. Right. Well, that's awful. That's what's causing all these kids to kill themselves, and all this anxiety and all this horrible things, because our bodies are not created by God to see these zeros and ones as human interaction.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not possible. You know what I mean? I think that's a level of that of it too. Of like, we're all on social media, and hey, I got a bunch of likes, I got a bunch of friends. No, you don't. You've got a bunch of zeros and ones.
Right.
And our brains are not designed to see zeros and ones as human interaction and community. So that's what it's going to come down to. And we're going to amplify that. All the problems, mental health problems that social media and like online living has caused is just going to be amplified by 1,000. So we're just going to kill ourselves by smoking 1,000 cigarettes a day, drinking a gallon of alcohol. I mean, all these other substances that these artificial substances that we've had that are harmful for us, like heroin and cocaine. It's like, yeah, let's make heroin world. Okay, how do you think that's gonna go? You know what I mean?
Oh.
That's what I see the metaverse as. Heroin world. So I was like, okay, I don't want to live there. I don't think you do either.
Yeah.
You know? So I just don't see it taking off. Like seriously. But
there's gonna be some extreme narcissists who are super into it. We were just looking at Instagram today, and people who meal prep, like their food doesn't even look appealing, and that's what Maggie was asking me. Like, why would you live off that all day? And I'm like, for the likes.
Yeah,
it's all for the likes, so people can say you do it, you get it, no days off, no quit. Like that's what it is.
Yeah,
they're eating crap food every day, so people will give them a thumbs up.
Yeah,
and they can feel a little better about themselves.
Yeah. I mean, that never goes well. That's why girls starve themselves.
Right.
Okay, then you're gonna die. Like that.
But for that moment,
where people kill themselves for likes, literally.
Oh yeah,
literally.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
There wouldn't be a rule about showing death on live streams if they didn't think people would do it on live streams.
Yeah, get too many likes.
Yeah.
Like
if I hit 1,000, if I hit 2 million likes, I'll break this finger. It would hit so fast.
Yes.
You do it.
And we're gonna metaverse that? Come on. We're dead.
Yeah.
And we can't do it. It's not gonna happen. That's why I think it's not gonna happen. Because it's that. Because it's that kind of thing. It's that harmful to ourselves. There'll be too many deaths. There'll be too many just obsessed, insane people that it's just not gonna happen.
And maybe in that, when it implodes, our kids will be ready with like, yeah, this is the real world. Also, this is the gospel, like the realest world.
Yeah, and that's why I think our kids will be waiting. I hope. I see this as like a giant train of destruction heading towards humanity. We've had a few,
right?
I mean, we've had those things. I mean, they've come in human history. I think it's one of them. And I say, get your kid off the tracks. Don't even just play in that world, because it's just gonna be so destructive, and it's not worth it. I mean,
this is where I've had to separate in my head, because I always associate the two, homesteading and minimalism, that they don't have to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
The idea of like build your own thing and make it huge.
Yeah.
So like building culture instead of building a tiny thing. That's what I was thinking with Metaverse. That's what I think about when everything's abandoned. That means everything's open.
Right.
Like now there's land that's free. Now there's buildings that are free. Now there's like, let's buy it. Let's build something. Let's get that.
Something that's real.
Right.
Last. And that's actually good for you. Like real fresh.
Like we were talking about crypto. Instead of putting your money in crypto, put your money in something.
Or just, do it, but just for the money.
Right.
It's something real. But yeah, I think that's, the more I think about it, the more I think like that's the way to raise our kids, is to dodge this metaverse virtual reality train that's coming. It's got a big bomb strapped to it. And so just like, hey, we'll step aside, but also maybe be there to pick up the pieces too. So it's not completely disengagement of it. I think we need to learn more about this. You know who Jaron, his name, he's like this big dude. He's got dreadlocks. This white dude. He's got weird like he helped like create the internet when he was like a teenager and stuff. But he helped create the internet.
Okay.
Super tech, artificial intelligence guy, like big time tech computer guy. He's never had a social media account because he knew exactly the algorithm problem that we were facing. He knew the intent behind everything. And he is like super like, I am not getting in that world.
Right.
And he helped create the internet. So it's not an ignorant person, not understanding social media.
Right.
And doesn't want to be part of the newfangled, whatever. That's not how we should raise our kids.
Right.
Be ignorant. We need to know more about this than everybody else. And so we need to know so much about it that we know how to avoid it and the dangers of it.
Mm.
So I think we need to keep learning about all these advances that are happening with the metaverse and virtual reality and all this tech stuff that's coming, so that we know the pitfalls of it and the dangers of it and how to avoid it and how to pick up pieces after it explodes. Because I think it will.
Right.
So, but we don't just want to run away and withdraw.
I mean, there's going to be people jumping off too, left and right.
Right. And maybe that's the Christian's position in all this, is just like, hey, come back to reality.
We got stuff.
Reality, you know?
Reality, exactly.
Reality. So real world.
Man.
I think that's going to be the position for Christians in this whole metaverse thing that's coming.
I was thinking about it this week too, because I was, going through Ecclesiastes for Bible study, and there's that verse in chapter 1 where he says nothing is new under the sun. And just thinking about that, like, how, well, this is totally novel and new, but not really, because I was thinking about like Babylon, and you think of the Hanging Gardens, and they built a fake oasis paradise in the middle of the desert. Like the metaverse is that.
Yeah.
Except to them, like real life is the desert, and they have to build their escape.
It's the Tower of Babel. Dude.
Yes.
I mean, it's nothing new under the sun. I mean, that's it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And what's crazy? What Steve God talked about was the Tower of Babel. All language was disrupted, right?
Right.
Well, that was a judgment on the unrighteous, right? Okay. Not for, there were righteous people who did not partake in the battle. And who was that? The Hebrews, right? The Israelites did not partake in trying to create this, right? Okay. So all language was disrupted as a punishment and a judgment, right? So, but the righteous would not have been punished and judged. So their language would have stayed the same, which was the original human language, Hebrew.
Is that his position that the...
Yeah. Adam spoke Hebrew.
Interesting.
Yeah. Adam spoke ancient Israelite Hebrew. And that's the Tower of Babel. Everyone's language was disrupted as a judgment, except for the righteous, which were the Israelites.
Who stayed together.
Yeah. And so their language stayed the same. And so what was the language? Hebrew.
Right.
So that's his speculation is like, well, and it's speculation.
Right.
I mean, we don't know.
Right.
This is just, but I thought it was a super interesting idea.
That is interesting.
Of like, Adam spoke Hebrew. Like,
right.
Whoa. That's crazy.
All right. Cool. Well, I don't know if we solved anything, but it's freaky to think about, but we're just going to have to keep following it. Like you said, we just got to learn, see what's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should, and I think we will. And I think the Christian's position is a healthy distance, but not ignorant, but be informed. But I think the outcome of it is going to be we step out of the side for this one. We dodge this train.
Right.
And then be ready for when humanity wants to come back to real life. And, the only true reality is Christ.
I mean, that was the destruction of Israel, right? Like Rome's coming. The church is the only one that's got out. Like we're out on this one. You guys keep the city. We'll be outside.
Right. And it did. And it collapsed.
And I mean, that's Rome too.
But what survived? The city of God.
Exactly.
All right. Let's stay there and not in this new city of Metaverse.
Well, going forward with digital interactions, hopefully we'll have more stuff up soon. I'm planning within the next week or two to shoot a video about the theology of music. So that'll be cool. Put more stuff on the YouTube channel, more responses on the TikTok. If you guys aren't following us on there, we are on there. Facebook, Instagram, everything, all links in the bio. Follow us there. Until next time, this has been the time and the place. We will see you guys.
See you.